All right, Professor Steinman. It's a pleasure
Hello.
once again. It's great to see you. Thank you for being here. It's awesome to see you today. How you doing?
Oh, good. Good, Professor
Right.
Lewis. How are
Um,
you? I'm good today.
Good. So once again, my name is Professor Louis Gugwa. I've been in the education field for over 20 years, teaching and tutoring, working with different type of students. Um, we've been, my background is in mathematics. I've been doing this for, as I said, over 20 years. And I love what I do. I love to teach. I love to see the impact that I'm having on on the kids that I have teach. I've taught all different levels for the most part. I'm teaching the college level students, but I've taught middle school, high school. Um, so that's in terms of my background. I do have a background too in computer science, but my primary focus is on math and on education. We have Professor Steinman, Kenneth Steinman, with us. Um, I know Professor Kenneth Steinman, but many of you probably don't. So I'm going to ask Professor Kenneth Steinman to just give a quick little bio of yourself, Professor Steinman.
Sure. Yeah, I started out, I taught 3 years in New York City public schools, high school. And now I've been at community college teaching there for 11 years.
Wow.
I've worked for ELC for close to 2 years now. I've worked with different students from different states. It's all done very nicely, and in terms of what I do with the students, and not just tutoring, but I also do study skills and, work on building skills in terms of what they should do in school and how to,
Hmm.
get good grades in class. Sometimes we'll talk to about former students in terms of just generally and what colleges to go to and how
Yeah.
what they're studying is relevant to what they're doing today.
Oh, wow. So that means you have a lot of experience in a lot of different things, especially when it comes to students, because you worked in high school in New York.
Yeah, I was a student in New York City public schools, and I also taught high school for 3 years in Far Rockaway High School in Queens. Um, but in addition to that, when I was in high school myself in New York City, I volunteered in the college office, and I am still kind of take that upon myself, both in the work, because I work at community college in terms of advising, uh, in addition to the math, like what colleges to go to, what's the
Hmm.
difference between the different colleges, what you need to get into them, different majors. So that's one thing I kind of enjoy doing in addition to my main role with math.
And you also teach at the college level, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I've taught Calc 3. Yeah, different math courses, a lot of different ones, some basic computer skills courses too.
So tell us, what is one of the biggest challenges that you find in terms of with students that are entering college, and how are those challenges something that you feel like if we could catch them early, that how could that have been different for some of those students?
Okay, so I'd say the most common thing I encounter is sometimes with math, there'll be certain knowledge gaps for various reasons. It could be studying reasons, but a lot of times some schools will give if the TI-83 calculator. So when they go to college,
Hmm.
even though math isn't every single subject, there's usually pieces of math in everything. Science if they're
Uh-huh.
doing pre med or business. So a lot of times there's some weaknesses in math, and that can maybe a student might go to school and they might get placed in a college level but have some weaknesses that hurt their grades. Uh,
Hmm.
Otherwise, they might be placed into like a developmental class. So we definitely want to get people's math on point so that when they start their school, they'll be in good shape.
And for me, I'm glad you mentioned that. As far as with them being when they come to the school, sometimes they place into like dev math, which is developmental math is really like the beginner stage. And oftentimes the reason why they start in the beginner stage is because they didn't get the math in the beginning, right? They didn't get it in elementary school, they didn't get it in middle school, they didn't understand it in high school. And then by the time they start college, they start at ground zero. They start at right in the
Yep,
bottom.
that's true. Yeah.
And but do you think there is something that can be done that can help them, those students, in terms of, so that way they wouldn't have to start at dev math when it comes to what are some strategies that you have noticed or you apply yourself to students in terms of that you feel that actually helps so that student don't have to go to college and start from ground zero?
Yeah, so a lot of times working on basic skills with different online platforms can help. Sometimes a lot of these platforms have a kind of like a smart feature, so they'll give a student kind of a basic question like x plus 2 equals 5. They get it right, and then they go to
Mm-hmm.
the harder level. If they don't, they make it a little easier. Whereas like a lot of the curriculums basically will just move students along based on their age. So
Mm-hmm.
if you understand fractions really good, K through 6, they move you ahead. If you don't get it at all, they're still going to move you ahead, and they're not going to go back and redo it. So a lot of the work we do, and there's plenty of different platforms. iMath is one, Khan Academy, different ones we could work with. Where we'll basically it's kind of like a smart learning platform, and then we'll work with people to help push them. But it's also to where they need to be. Like if someone's in 10th grade, and then
Uh-huh.
they just force them to take algebraic geometry, but they don't know all the underlying foundations. There's not that much the school's going to do. It's just like they give them that class and that's it. So with side remediation type learning platforms, what we would do is, we'd work with the student, and then the computer would kind of gear it to where the student level that they're at now,
Mm-hmm.
slowly work them up to either where they need to be. And then, if they work with us more, they could even become advanced. But schools just basically place everyone in the same spot, primarily based on how old they are, not on what level they're at.
All right. So with these students, because I know you work with a lot of adult students. Do you
Yeah.
feel like if those students were able to, if you was a tutor for them when they were in maybe let's say high school or middle school, do you feel like you had the ability to be able to help the student to understand the material so that way they wouldn't have to be at ground zero when they come to the college?
I would say definitely if I was able to work with them on a regular basis. I always think, slow and steady works. A lot of my work, people will come, the two types, some will come regularly, no matter what level they're at. And if they come, an hour a week, 2 hours a week, and that works out. Some people, a lot of people I've met will kind of just want to cram, and I found that to be less effective. Where they might say, "All right, I have a placement test at college. Can you teach me all the math I need to know in one day?" And that seems less effective. So if someone follows, think of it's the same as anything, if someone did an exercise program,
Mm-hmm.
is an hour a day good, or is 8 hours of, let's say, walking in one day good? So that's how I would say it's the same type of premise with math learning. The slow and steady and regular usually is very effective for most people.
Okay. Um, Thank you for sharing these important things with us, Ken, Professor Steinman. Let me share something with you guys. Um, with what Professor Steinman is talking about is very, very important. And what we try to do is we want to be able to catch a lot of these students who have difficulties early. That's really what the goal of ELC is. So, Professor Steinman, as I just mentioned, ELC, share with us your experience with ELC and your experience with ELC students.
I've had, as I can remember, at least about 6 different students, and all of them definitely progressed. In terms of grades, I had one student who went, I think, from a D to a B.
Wow,
Hear stories like that. Um,
that's
well,
amazing. You said from a D to a B.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I won't say which one because of student privacy, but I think yeah, I had.
that's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. But they would all increase. I'd get all of them to definitely
So
wherever they were at failing, they'd always be
so
passing. Yeah,
so basically, a lot of the students that you've come across are students that were struggling, whether they were having a D or they were failing, but working with you on a one-to-one basis, some of them went from a D to a B, some of them went from failing to passing. So you
yeah,
was able to see incredible success in them. The, so were you working with them on a one-to-one basis in
yeah.
a
It
group
was just
setting? What
one
was
to
the
one.
environment like?
No, it was one to one. And again, the ones I remember, I saw one twice a when I went from once a week to twice a week, that did help with the grades. So going back to consistency, once a week I was with the once a week model, I still was able to get everyone up and passing, but I had the same student, I saw him twice a week, and I was able to kind of improve his grade even more. uh,
Wow.
so that it did make a difference. And once sometimes if a student so the grade was pretty much tied to meeting regularly, and then a bit more frequency. Twice a week seemed to work better than once a week.
So you're saying in terms of frequency matters, consistency matters. So therefore, in terms of if you find that, because for me, I find that too. When a student come on a consistent basis, whether it's twice a week or 3 times a week, on a continual basis, then we see incredible success and we see a great change in terms of from where the student was at to where the student is today. So we see incredible growth, right?
Yeah.
So consistency. So you would say consistency matters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. And I would also give students tips on how to get the most out of our tutoring. I would give them things to say to their teacher if they had a test coming up. I would get students in better practices like, all right, find out when your next test is. Ask if there's a review sheet. Most cases there were. If there's not, ask if there are any questions to study. So in terms of working with them, not just tutoring them, but also help guiding them to get the most out of our sessions. So that was by kind of what to do in class. I give them tips on how to be a good student. I would work on building self-esteem as well.
Okay, so you weren't just a tutor to them, although your title was a tutor, but you weren't just a tutor. You was also a mentor. You was also someone who provided them guidance and advice, and was able to, and also to my understanding, sometimes they would communicate with you or reach out to you outside of the tutoring session. Is that right?
Yeah, I was certainly able. If they had like a homework question, they could always
Uh-huh.
send me a picture of it, and I would try to, kind of do a written out solution if they got stuck on something. Sometimes, if I would speak with the student outside, it would also be questions just regarding, reminder: did you get the study material? What chapters you're on? Because a lot of students wouldn't. Uh, Always ask that, or they wouldn't know what to ask, or even is it okay to ask, not to
Hmm.
ask, someone just be so quiet. So before I met some of them, a lot of students wouldn't even necessarily know if there's a study review sheet, or they wouldn't really ask when the next tests are. And sometimes they have to be a little bit more proactive depending on the teacher. Some teachers might lay it out in very, very clearly. Others
Yeah.
might just mention once there'll be a test in 2 weeks, and if you don't write it down, they'll just show up. They won't even know there's a test. So, which is not the best, you know.
And sometimes too, I know there's students who, they have a test coming up.
Mhm.
They don't have a session, right? They don't have a scheduled session, but sometimes those emergency situation occurs, right? And
Oh,
sometimes they reach out to you and say, "Hey, Professor Steinman, can you help me today? Can I get some help? Is that right? Is that part of?"
yeah. Oh, yeah. And we do our very best to accommodate those as much as possible, which is usually most of the time. Yep.
Yeah. So in other words, basically, you prioritize your students. and put them
Oh,
first.
absolutely. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
I always, when I work in ELC, I always make sure to take a caseload that is, a small number of students so that I can give them high priority. So that's one of the things. I'll never, overbook or take more people that I can't make sure I can't give good responsiveness to.
Yeah, and I think you're actually speaking for just about all of the ELC tutors and the whole team as a whole. Because we at ELC, we get different students. We got all types of students. Like Professor Steinman mentioned, consistency is the key. If the students are consistent, speaking of, because I was going to say, if the students are consistent, then we do see major growth. But how, if you was to give an advice to a parent right now, what advice would you give to a parent so that they can help their child to be at their best, to be consistent? What do you think in terms of advice you could give to the parent as their role? Yes, they are the mom, they're the dad. Yes, they're the one who's signing up their children for academic support and all of that. But is that enough, or is there something else maybe the parents can do to be able to just to make sure that that child is consistent and that child is getting the best that they can through the, Elevation Learning Center or through our programs?
Well, one thing that comes to mind that I do is I would say talk to the students about what they want to do. What are their goals and dreams and aspirations, and then you could kind of tie that into how school's important for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things I do. And even as a parent, let's say they mention a career that you just haven't heard of or don't know much about. There's resources I use, but I'll give you one. It's the Bureau of Labor Statistics Job Outlook Handbook. And that is a U.S. government Bureau of Labor does it. But getting back to it, it's giving motivation. Like I want to be a doctor, and okay, so
Mm-hmm.
what do you need for that? You need to take science, physics, and physics has math in it. So tying in a motivation is like why I want, so getting them starting with that. What job do you want to do? And then once you have that initial motivation, then you
Yeah.
can talk about the consistency and why it's important in achieving your goals. Setting a priority. So that would be the direction I would say is try to catch an interest, whatever that is, and if it's law, whatever the career they're interested in, engineering,
Yeah.
and using that, learning more about that career,
Right. Right.
through the web resources. So then or you could talk with myself or Lewis. Although job stuff is always fascinated me, so you could ask me like, "Oh, my son wants to be, or daughter wants to be electrical
Well,
engineer," and yeah,
yeah. Yeah. And I think in terms of one of the things that, you know, since I'm talking to you, I know that you do a lot of, and also all of our tutors, they do that as well, is that they are in constant communication with the parents, right? You're constantly talking to the mom, you're constantly talking to the dad, in terms of making sure that you give them updates on what the child is progressing and all of that. So I think that's one of the ways that we actually help those parents so that they can help their kids. It's but that's awesome. What would you say is you feel like is the greatest reward for you in terms of with the students? Like when you just shared something as far as you have a student who went from a D to a B or from a D to an A, you know, how does that make you feel as a tutor?
I always feel good about it, because it makes it's like wow, it came through. I always when I work with someone believe they're going to improve, but sometimes you're never sure how much. So a
Hmm.
lot of the times when you see it's like wow, I did that good, and then it'll help me think about what I did with that student and what I could even do better next time with them.
Yeah, because even us as tutors, we're always learning, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, as professionals, we're always learning. We never stop learning. I know I mentioned that I have over 20 years of teaching experience, but guess what? I'm always learning. It's the same thing with you, Professor Simon, and of the other professors that we have on our team, on our staff, that's working and that's helping students. No matter how many years of experience you have, you're always learning. Things are always changing. You're always finding a new, different way to solve the same problem. Maybe an easier way, maybe a way that's easier for the student. Technology is changing, right? Um, how do you see in terms of, because I know you do have a background in technology, instructional technology and all of that as well. How do you see in terms of your experience, your background in technology with the mathematics, merging them together to help the students? Because we are living in a, in a day and age where technology is everything now. The way we used to learn math back in my day and your day is so different now, right? So now everything is online, everything is through a computer system. That's why, even classes are online. So how do you utilize your experience, your background with technology? How do you see that helping the students? Because I know it has a great impact, the experience that you have with that. And I'm seeing some incredible things that you've done. So how do you see that technology and using it? How do you see that have an impact on your students?
Well, a lot of the schools use online learning platforms now,
Uh-huh.
and some of them will also use the Microsoft Suite, Microsoft Teams. So a lot of the times, it's not pencil and paper like it was years ago.
Yeah.
I might have to, I might have to help a student use an online graphing tool, which in the back when I was in school, you could use pencil and paper. So I'm very comfortable with technology.
Uh-huh.
Some of the schools, many of them use the TI-84 CE graphing calculator. So I have software that I can kind of share on the screen with that. And also, too, one of the big areas, if students are interested in technology, tech careers, I've taken, I have a lot of courses I took in that. So I could guide them. But math is super important for any of the
Yes, definitely.
fields. Yeah, and a lot of fields too, even if they're not comp sci or computer
Yeah.
science directly, it's
So
very good to have a minor in it.
that's right.
All math, yeah.
Now that's great. That is awesome. Um, Thank you so much, Professor Steinman. Let's talk a little bit about ways that we can help, because there's a lot of parents out there these days that's looking for help and support for their children. In Elevation Learning Center, we provide a lot of different things that, you know, the thing to my surprise is that there's a lot of parents who doesn't realize that we have a lot of the tools and a lot of the support that's available to help their children to be successful. Um, so speaking of, one of the things that we have, right? Let's talk about some of the courses that we have, some of the things that we have here at ELC that can actually help those students. We just talked about tutoring, right? Throughout the school year, we provide tutoring, and we provide tutoring for all, ages, all different category types of levels of mathematics and English and science. So we provide those things, whether your child is in third grade, fourth grade, elementary school, middle school, high school, we provide those tutoring and academic support, right? We also provide classes, right? During the year, we provide classes, kids that are struggling, that are having some difficulties, challenges. We provide those type of classes. You know, those who wants to advance, we provide those. Those who are currently struggling and need a push to be able to caught up to the rest of their peers in their class, we provide those. But something that's key, we also provide, and let's talk a little bit about that right now, is the summer courses, right? We do have some summer classes that's going to actually start next week, July 26th. So we're going to have 4 weeks of summer classes that's going to be starting. Let's talk a little bit about those summer courses in terms of how those you feel like those summer courses would help students. Remember, with those courses, right? The objective of those courses is to help those students to already know the material beforehand, right? For
Mhm.
example, someone is in eighth grade, we're going to teach them eighth grade math for the next 4 weeks. By the time they walk into that classroom, they're going to already know the material. So those courses, right? We find a lot of success in it. We find that those courses are incredibly important, right? Because not a lot of parents think about getting the child ahead. So tell us a little bit about those courses. What do you think those courses how can a parent benefit from these courses? And why do you think these courses are so important? I know I've been doing a lot of
Oh,
talking.
sure. Yeah. So, it's going to be a lot of it has to do with self-esteem and self-confidence. If a student's seen all the material before, they're going to
Hmm.
be off to a really, really great start.
Yeah.
Um, Even if there's some disruption, like let's say they have a sick day in the first day of September, or two sick days for something comes up, but they had this whole month prior, so they're going to be like way ahead of where they would have been. Let's say there's a class of
So it's
20
like they're not
people.
missing anything.
Not only not
Even
missing
if they
anything,
have a sick day or a couple of sick day, they didn't miss anything because they already know it, right?
yeah, and it's kind of like starting a race, right? Like starting a race, like a horse race, but you're
Yeah,
ahead. So it gives you a head start,
I
and
like that.
it's going to build their confidence, and then all right, they're already a month ahead, and they're
That's so
doing
true.
great. Yep, and then that'll be strong. Whereas if they don't have that and they come in and they start the year out and they're a little behind,
Uh-huh.
it certainly could affect their self-esteem, and that might decrease motivation. It's the difference between getting off to a strong start or potentially start that isn't as good as you wanted to, and then if you're behind in the race, it's kind of a lot harder to get that motivation to study. Whereas if you're starting out, you're at the top of the class. That's going to help gain
Yeah.
momentum.
I love that I love that analogy you just gave. It's like running a race, a horse race. I'm not into horse racing, but I'm actually picturing what you're saying in
My
terms of
grandfather used to take me. That's where it came from.
yeah, because when I'm when as you were saying it, I was thinking about it, right?
Yeah,
Think about a horse. All of the horses begin at the same time, right?
yeah.
But if there's one that's far behind, that one is likely just gonna give up.
Oh yeah.
But what if the horse didn't have to start with everybody else but already ahead?
Mhm.
What if that horse is already half a mile ahead? What if that horse is already a quarter of a mile ahead? Then most likely that horse will actually get to the finish line and probably get to the finish line ahead, right?
Oh yeah.
So, and I just love that analogy because it is so true.
Yeah.
It's because when we prepare our students and we prepare our children ahead of the time for the race. You see, I'm using race now. When
Oh
we
sure.
prepare them ahead of the time for the race, and when I mean the race, we're talking about the classroom. When we prepare them ahead of the time for the classroom, by the time they walk into the classroom, right? You mentioned something about confidence. Their
Yeah.
confidence is up, right?
Yeah.
Um, and they already know the material. That's something that's key too. Because there are going to be things that happen where a student will miss a day. They may miss a class, but it's not too much of a headache because they already know the material. They're just really reviewing and revising it in the classroom, but they already know it. And knowing makes all the difference. Just already prior knowledge makes all the difference, right? So I think that is great. Thank you for that analogy. I'm
Oh,
gonna
you're
use that
welcome.
one. It's
Yeah.
like running a
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but all right. So you think in terms of those classes are vital because it's gonna help to get those students ahead, right?
Oh yeah. It's a big help. It's a
And
huge help. Yeah.
and you talked about the online tools, right? You talk about the online tools that
Yeah.
nowadays is being utilized. Um, in those classes that we're gonna be doing, right? We're gonna be having those online tools as well. Those online tools is gonna be there to equip the students, but the students have to do the work, right, Professor Steinman? If,
Well, yeah, they do some on their own. Although I would say, well, that's true. They have to come. We kind of get them started. We
yeah,
kind of,
yeah, because we do the lecture, right?
yeah,
We provide them the tools so that they can actually strengthen their skills, and then they're going to practice outside in terms of it's kind of like us giving them assignment. We have a 20-day plan. A 20-day plan. That 20-day plan, the student will know exactly everything that they need to practice. We give them the tools, the softwares for them to be able to practice. And we're able to monitor it. We're able to take a look and see in terms of how many hours they put into it, how much progress they're having, where they're having some difficulties, and how we can actually assist them with those challenges. Um, so with these classes, let me just share very quickly with you guys about these classes, right? These classes are, I'm gonna tell you, they make such a big difference. We worked with students last year, and we see those students when we work with them in the summer. Now, when it was time for them to go into the classroom, their confidence level was through the roof. They knew everything, they learned everything, and they just progressed, and they didn't struggle during the year. So these classes are vital. We would highly encourage that you guys take participate in those classes. As parents, we would highly encourage that you have your child um, participate in these classes. Those classes we have is going to be 3 times a week: Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, 3 times a week, and we teach the class for an hour, and then we provide all of the tools. So we would highly encourage that you guys just, register. The way for you to simply register for our classes, you just go to our website. Our website is www.elevationlearningcenter.com. Once you go into it, you'll get all of the details, all of the information. You'll see the class. You just select the class that your son or your daughter is in, whether it's sixth grade, you click sixth grade math or seventh grade math, and then you register. The registration link is there. It's very easy to register. It's very easy for you to get into those classes. And we put countless hours into preparation for these students. We put countless hours into preparation for those 20-day plan, and countless hours in preparation. So now we're just ready to teach. It's just a matter of us getting the child into the classroom and getting started. Again, it's www.elevationlearningcenter.com. It's 3 days a week. And the beautiful thing about it is, Professor Steinman, one of those classes, right? Normally, some of these classes, they go for $1,300, $1,400 because of just the amount of information that is being provided. A lot of different institutions, they do that. But the beautiful thing is, we are just charging $299, $299 for the whole entire course. Can you believe it? $299 for the whole entire course. And it's the simple reason is because we're really just focusing on trying to provide your child with the help that they need so that they can succeed. And if you're a family of 2 children, then instead of $299, it's $399 with a discount. And also, I should mention that, speaking of discount, if you know others who would benefit from this great initiative, I'm going to tell you, share the information with them. Share the information with them, because we want to help as many, we want to serve as many students as possible. So share the information with them. If you know people, if you know parents, if you know family members, if you know kids that are struggling and the parents don't know what to do, just share the information. Reach out to those parents. Let them know, hey, I just learned about this new incredible program that is about to start next week. Let them know about it so that they can sign up. And I'm going to share one more thing with you. If they sign up, if you let them know about it and they sign up, we are going to give to you and your child $100 bonus or $100 credit of tutoring. In other words, they'll be receiving a number of free tutoring during the academic year. So, it's a win-win either way. For me, I'm going to share the information. My daughter, she's already signed up. My son, he's already signed up. We have a lot of students that's already signed up. But I should mention to you that the space is limited. Space is limited. Why? Because we can only help and assist a limited amount of students, just in order for us to able to have maximum impact on their lives. So make sure that you sign up today because space is limited. Don't forget, on Wednesday, Professor Steinman, we're starting Wednesday.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's good.
Classes are starting Wednesday. So remember, on Wednesday, classes are starting. So you need to sign up today just to make sure. Make sure that you already have your spot reserved. Make sure that your spot is reserved, because space is limited. We would you know we wouldn't want you to miss out on this opportunity. We can try to open up more classes, but we can't guarantee. So therefore, just make sure that you sign up today. Make sure you sign up. And like I said, if you refer somebody, your child will be able to get some free tutoring during the academic year. We'll be able to credit. We'll give you $100 credit on your account. So do that. It's a win-win. $299 for an individual, $399 for a family of two. So please just make sure you sign up. And right now we'll just take, if there's any questions, very quickly we'll take those questions. If you have any questions, something that you would like to know more information, again, just go to our website, www.elevation learning center. You'll be able to learn more about Elevation Learning Center. Check out our website. Check out we're on Facebook. Okay, give us a like on Facebook. Check out our Facebook page. Get more information through Facebook, Instagram. We're on TikTok. Check us out, and feel free to ask questions at any given moment. And one more thing: if you have difficulties, if you're not in front of a computer, you're not able to go to the website, you can also call us too. We do have a contact number that you can reach us. For you to reach us and for us to be able to speak with you. So you can email us, you can check us out on Facebook, you can check us out on Instagram, you can check us out on TikTok, you can check us out on different platforms, and you can also, if you want to, one other thing you can do is you can email us, and you can give us a call at 800-735-2591. 800-735-2591. We have a team that's there waiting for your call. You can call and you can sign up. You can call and find out, hey, how do I sign up? 800-7 Again, it's 800-735-2591. 800-735-2591. Or you can just go to elevationlearningcenter.com and you can sign up that way. Or if you have questions, you can email us, administration@elevationlearningcenter.com. That's another way you can reach us. Email administration@elevationlearningcenter.com. So you can do that. We'll be more than happy to do that. Professor Steinman, I don't know if you have like a last word, something that you'd want to say or share.
Just off what Professor Lewis says, in terms of them filling up faster, what I would agree with that is that we always don't want to take on more students that we can't give excellent service to. So it's definitely good to sign up earlier, because once
Absolutely.
you do that, we always are about making sure everyone has individual attention, that all of our staff is easy to reach. So we're definitely a company that doesn't want to take on more people than we can. We always want to give the best service. So it will be a limited amount, just for that reason, is that every student in our class is going to have, easy to reach us, individualized attention. So, and even I, in myself personally, if I always take just enough so I know I can give great, but I never overtake. So we can always help people like 100%.
And you know what I love about it? What I love is that students that we help, some of them, they say, how can we help? One student said, can I invite my whole classroom, my entire class? I think they would love it. You say, hey, yeah, absolutely. You can invite your whole class. If you want to invite your class, invite them. But the only problem is, the space is limited. So therefore, we may try to see how we can accommodate for your entire class, but we may have to open more classrooms. So therefore, that's why we say space is limited. A lot of our current students, they find this to be so productive to them that they are sharing the information with their peers and their classmates. So don't miss out on this opportunity. Once again, you can reach us. It's a pleasure for us to serve you guys. We are Elevation Learning Center. We do a lot of tutoring and teaching online. We're so happy to be here. We thank you for this opportunity that you was able to listen to our live today. Once again, don't forget, you can always reach us in different ways. You can reach us at elevationlearningcenter.com. You can email us at administration@elevationlearningcenter.com, or you can call us at 800-735-2591, 800-735-2591. Don't forget, like us on Facebook. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Instagram. Oh yeah, don't forget too, we are on YouTube. We're on YouTube, and maybe we should mention something very quickly, Professor Steinman, about YouTube, because we're gonna be adding a lot of content on YouTube. Math tips. I know you love that, right? Math tips.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my favorite.
We're gonna be adding things such as in terms of how to solve a problem quickly. We are also gonna give test tips, right?
Test taking strategies. Yeah.
Strategies, different things. All of these things are going to be posted on our YouTube page. So again, don't forget to check out our YouTube page, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, right? So that way you can also know when we are live on YouTube, or for you to be able to know when we post new content, because we're going to be posting new content on a continual basis throughout the school year. So you don't want to miss out on any of these things. Again, we're always learning. We're always growing. Not only the students are learning, we as professors, we are as tutors, we're always learning as well. And we're always growing. So grow with us. Join us in this march. Join us in this movement. This is going to be an incredible journey. And we're looking forward to seeing each and every one of you. Thank you again, once again, for being on this live. All of you who is on this live. We acknowledge many of you that we saw. We saw Tasha that was on the live. We see Erlene that's on the live. We see different folks that's on the live. Professor Steinman, I don't know if you have one last word before we close.
Just that what we're going to try to do is we're also looking into potentially not just doing math, but solving math problems, a new course we're developing using Python and computer programming, just because of how in demand and technologically relevant that is to today. So we have some new courses that are in development as well.
That's right. That's right. You know what? That's going to end up having to be a live for another day that's coming up soon, because there's a lot of details that we didn't share with you that's we're going to need to share with you. Like Professor Steinman mentioned, Python, different coding courses, right? And different things such as TEAS tests, right? TEAS, prepping for the TEAS. I know the TEAS is a big thing, right? What's the TEAS? The TEAS, do you want to quickly share in terms of what the TEAS is?
Sure. The TEAS is just a general academic entry test if someone wants to become an RN. An RN is a very big field right now. The pay is, if you look up how much travel nurses get paid, it's over 200,000 a year. It's
wow.
Just you. Yeah, that's in CNBC, business paper. So the TEAS is like it's similar to SAT, basic English, basic math test, and there usually is a cutoff score that you'll need to.
And I know the TEAS is big for those who's going to become a nurse.
Yep.
Before they go into nursing school, they have to take the TEAS. So this is something that we're going to be preparing students for. Yes, somebody says go nurses. Yes, that's right, go nurses. And NCLEX, prepping for the NCLEX. Science courses, English courses. So there's all of these things that are in the works. That's why I said this is going to have to be something for another live. But there was a question. Is there referral bonuses? Absolutely, there's going to be referral bonuses. If you refer someone, we mentioned that earlier in the live. If you refer somebody or you refer someone, your child is not only going to be able to take the course for the $299, but we're going to give it $100 credit where they'll be able to receive free tutoring from us, a number of free tutoring during the academic year. So yes, there are definitely referral bonuses. Please refer your friends, refer your family members, co-workers, so that they can know that there's something incredible that's happening starting July the 26th August 18, where we're going to be teaching their children the math, the material that they're going to be needing for the academic year. And by the way, it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter where you stay in the United States. We serve students all across the state, all across the state. We serve students in the states of Massachusetts. We serve students in the state of Florida. This is actually where I'm at right now. We had an opportunity to visit some of our students in the state, in the great state of Florida. We're going to be heading to some other states, and we're going to meet some of our students there too. We serve students in different part of the state. Can you share with us, State Professor Steinman, where you had students?
I remember having students from Georgia,
State of,
Massachusetts.
okay, so you had student in Georgia. Mhm.
Yeah, and New York, as I recall.
In New York.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we serve students in Georgia. We serve students in New York, California. We have a lot of students in California, Alabama, Tennessee. We just had a parent who reached out to us from, what's that state called? Missouri. Yeah, Missouri. So we have a parent who reached out to us from this great state of Missouri. We serve students in Canada, right? We serve students in Europe. We're currently working with a couple of students who works. Their parents work in Dubai, but who lives in Saudi Arabia and different places. So we are serving students all across the world. So therefore, don't feel like if you're in the state that you live in, that we can't serve you. Absolutely, we can serve you, and absolutely, we want to serve your child. Trust me, we've seen incredible impact that we're having, and we can't wait to serve your child. Once again, thank you so much. Those of you who tuned in, thank you so much for your questions. Thank you so much, Professor Steinman, for your great insight, for all of the things. We greet you, Mr. Qualo. Yes, great to see you, my friend. Thank you so much. We're waiting for you. Thank you for all of you who joined. We're going to continue to do some of those live. We're going to continue to share those vital information with you. As much as we have, we will share it with you. Once again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Professor Steinman, for your great insight.
Welcome.
And by the way, I'm going to still continue to use that race analogy because I think that's a great
the horse race. The horse race. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Love you guys.
Okay. I love you. I love everyone sending prayers, everything. Okay.